Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m. $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at Remingtav Cincy. That's REMITAV Cincy with a Y, or follow them on Facebook. And with that, George, we are underway for the first show in 2 weeks. We did take last week off as we were doing, Chad and I were doing 513 day. You went to the Reds game, and it was just a busy day for all of us, really.
Oh, you guys were slammed. I'm sitting through a 2-hour rain delay before the first pitch against the crappy White Sox. Then I got to sit there and watch the Reds lose in extra innings. That game. I walked out of there and I'm like, it's over, baby. It's done.
Goodness.
I was probably wrong.
Well, tonight's game is over officially. As
it is Reds now. Ellie just flew out.
Lose to the Pirates.
I like this new Remington wear on. This is a prototype.
I do like it. It matches the hat.
Lower Indian Hill, it says. I like that.
There you go. But plenty to get to tonight, as we did have the week off last week. So let's get right into it as we first talk about the Cincinnati Bearcats baseball team. They finished the season taking 2 of 3 from Kansas State. They play Texas Tech tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time in Arlington, Texas. So much more a home game for Texas Tech than it is for your Cincinnati Bearcats. Bearcats, of course, being the 8th seed and Texas Tech being the 9 seed. If they are able to win that game, then they will play West Virginia in the second round. That all said, there were some accolades today as you have your honorable mention, all Big 12 for Landon Vitterick, Nathan Taylor, Kellen O'Connor, Quentin Coates lands on the all freshman team, Jack Natilli gets second team all Big 12 honors, and Carrington Cross gets the player of the year and first team all Big 12 honors. He is also still a semifinalist for the Golden Spikes Award and the Dick Hauser Trophy Award as well. But a lot of accolades there. The Bearcats finished strong. Some say strong enough that they're already in the mix for the College World Series and all of that. But George, you've taken in far more of the Cincinnati Bearcats baseball in person and watching games than I this season. But what are your thoughts as the season is? The regular season has now come to a close, and we're entering postseason.
Exciting stuff, man. Very exciting. I think they're playing pretty well right now, too. I caught a couple of the games against Kansas State this past weekend, Thursday and Friday. So I was 2-0, and then I missed Saturday, and that's the one they dropped. But they played really well when I was there. And I know I think it was the Friday game. They scored 7 runs in the first 2 innings, and then were shut down the rest of the way. But their pitching staff got the job done and didn't allow a run, and good win there. And I was really impressed. And you look at their stats throughout the year, and when you watch them, for the most part, now this didn't happen Saturday, according to my spies who were at the game, but Thursday and Friday, their plate discipline was so good. I don't know if anyone swung at a ball the entire 2 games I was watching. They were really good. They didn't necessarily walk a lot, but they definitely took good swings at good pitches and weren't chasing a lot of balls. And if you look at their stats throughout the season, it's kind of borne that out, where they may not have a high batting average as far as the conference is concerned, but their on-base percentage is more than respectable. In fact, one of the best in the conference. So I think they're playing really well. I think they're probably in. You wouldn't want to go down there and lose 2 and come away with no wins. That's why I would feel really, 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 really good that they have it locked up with a win tomorrow against a team that they took 2 out of 3 of down at Texas Tech in early April. And I wonder, Kellen O'Connor pitched against Texas Tech down there and had a 115 pitch complete game, beating them on the final game on Sunday down there. And I wonder if he's set up. He's got to be the guy that's going to start tomorrow against them, wouldn't you think? Like I know there are, but if the guy just faced them in April and threw a complete game, I just wonder, or is he? I don't know how they're going to set this up.
Well, it's as difficult as it would be to look at that game and not give him the nod. You also have to consider the fact that you have an honorable mention All Big 12 player in Nathan Taylor,
right,
who has had an outstanding season regardless who he's faced. So this is where you kind of have to figure out, do you hold off on Nathan Taylor so you can pitch him against West Virginia, who by the way you got swept by? So do you want to put your best pitcher out and give yourself the best chance to win that game, as opposed to I don't know. It's tough.
It's going to be an interesting decision, and I'm sure they have researched every possible angle on this of what to do. And Bishel is a guy that just wants to win the game in front of him, right? But maybe this kid gives you the best. I mean, Taylor got knocked around a little bit early in that game Thursday. I mean, they were hitting some rockets off of him in the first couple of innings, but he settled down and ended up, I don't know how many innings he ended up going, 5, 6, I don't know, but he settled down and got some outs and battled through whatever he was going through, and obviously is a darn good pitcher. But man, if you could get that first one and throw O'Connor out there and then come back with Taylor against West Virginia, that's a very tempting proposition if I'm Coach Bishel. But whatever he decides, I'm sure it'll be for the best. And he's pretty much proven himself in 2 seasons here of what he's all about and how he knows how to win.
I'm looking up the stats right now for Nathan Taylor. It looks like
I can help you.
On Thursday, he went 5 1/3.
On
Nathan Taylor went 5 1/3.
Yeah, I was excited to see him pitch again. And Thursday was a funny day. I learned something the hard way too. At the concession stand. At the concession, they had a Thirsty Thursday thing going, and I go up with my credit card to get a couple of beers, right? And then I see those big boxes of popcorn. I'm like, I'll have one of those. So it's 10 for a beer, 10 for another beer, 8 for the popcorn. Well, the card thing wouldn't work, right? It went haywire, and the dude's like, just give me $10 for the beer and get out of here. Well, I already had like 2 20s out. So I thought it was 10 a piece, and I'm like, well, I got the popcorn too. So I gave him the $40, and he gave me like $10 back or something. And so I'm thinking, oh, well, they can have a $2 tip. I don't care, back to the seat. And then I sit down and start figuring out everything. And my buddy goes, well, it's Thirsty Thursday. These are, and then I get the deal anyway, because I'm a season ticket holder and I forgot about that. And it's just like all this stuff happened. And I lost like $18 on the transaction, but that's me. It goes to the baseball team. I'm all for it. Hopefully it'll help them win tomorrow against Texas Tech.
Well, but
Taylor did have some trouble early in that game, but if you would have seen the first inning and even early in the second inning, you'd say, no way he gets the 5 1/3. But, he's got that bulldog mentality, and it showed that day because he battled every single out in that game to stay in there 5 1/3. Then Friday, Carrington Cross, who became Big 12 Player of the Year, hit that home run in the first inning. I had the perfect seat for it because it went right down the left field line.
Yeah.
Just missed the foul pole. Just missed it. Fair ball. I had the best seat in the house for that thing. And, man, that kid is a player. I mean, he is a player. I'm going to be interested to see where he gets drafted and what the professionals think of him, because
for sure. Kind of going back to your original thought of who you give the nod to, I think I'm still back on the fact that I think it'd be just so hard not to give the ball to Nate Taylor,
I agree.
given everything that he's done, and considering the fact that even if you do, even if you lose the first game and you essentially don't give him any postseason,
Correct.
or at least any tournament play action.
Correct.
Whereas if you pitch him first game, you have the chance. I don't know if he'd actually go, but you'd have the chance of pitching him in the third game if you win the second game as well.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, there's a lot to consider and a lot going into this decision.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm very interested to see because I've looked everywhere and I haven't seen anything announced as who's starting and all that. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm guessing you're probably right that they'll go that way because you gotta get that win tomorrow to see West Virginia, right? So
well,
I think what they'll do, but I'm still just wondering if that might happen.
It's also an important win because if you get that first win,
yes,
I think you're comfortably in.
I would think so. I don't see how in the world you could win that game and then go against a team like West Virginia, who's ranked in the top 25. If you lose, it's not a bad loss. It doesn't kill you. And then after that, whatever happens, happens. But I would think you would be safely in at that point. So I think they're probably in now, but you wouldn't want to go down there and completely crap the bed, then have somebody like Texas Tech go on and win the darn thing. And, there goes a bid.
And certainly make things interesting. Where all eyes are going to be on Cincinnati, though, tomorrow again at 1:30 as they start the game against Texas Tech in Arlington. Big ramifications for Coach Jordan Bischel in his second year, and we're all going to be pulling for these Cincinnati Bearcats.
I'll say this, like watching those games, and it's so much fun to watch that style of baseball. It really is. They had cross bunting, and it was probably Thursday's game. I mean, bunting, with like men on first and second or something. And maybe he did it on his own. I don't know. But it's just, you never know what these dudes are going to do. And, look at the stolen base statistics and how far. I mean, they had a pretty sizable gap in the Big 12, having the most stolen bases as a team. Very interesting, very good season by the Bearcats. And it's really fun to watch that team play.
Well, time will tell. We are less than a day away from that game starting off tomorrow.
And, ESPNU, it should be on, right? The U and Plus.
I'm sure you can catch it on Plus as well. So
yeah, definitely on Plus. I think ESPNU is supposed to carry it too, and some of those Big 12 games will be on the Deuce as they move on. I don't know that any are tomorrow, but it's possible the second two games are. But I'm pretty sure Thursday there's some games on the ESPN too. So it's great to be in that kind of a limelight, with the baseball program. And that's something you didn't get with those other conferences they ran.
For sure. Definitely looking forward to that. The Bearcats basketball team, since we last spoke, they have announced their most recent signing as they bring in forward Baba Miller via FAU. This team, we discussed at length over the course of the last several weeks as Coach Miller was putting this team together. They were missing a 4. You've filled the gap with a pretty highly. He's highly considered as far as this transfer portal goes. I think he was in the top 75 of ranked players. I want to say it was 65 or somewhere around there. But he was. You filled the hole. You've met the need. But what were your thoughts when you saw Baba Miller becoming a Bearcat?
Where the hell's the money coming from? That was one. I'm like, really? Seriously though, I'm thinking, okay, the kid from Central Florida, he got a big wad of cash. And I'm just like thinking, God, is there, you're doing the math and you're thinking, is that kind of money available for UC? And God bless somebody for stepping up. So that's the first thing I thought was like, wow, I really wasn't expecting that potential level of player to come in, after what they had already gotten in the portal. And this kid's got tremendous upside. Like, I think he's just scratched the surface of what he can do. And you see a 6'11" kid, 7'2" wingspan. I saw some stuff where like his standing reach is 9'2". And by the way, he can handle the basketball. Like, I saw them throw the ball at him on breaks, and in transition, he's really good. But he's a guy you can throw the ball to on a break, and he can dribble that all the way down the court and do something with it, whether he scores or pat. But I was surprised by that. I mean, this dude moves well. And I guess he had one of those growth spurts after he played a lot of, guard or whatever, ball handling, and then hits that growth spurt. And he looks very coordinated to me, looks smooth, good shot. I don't want to put too much stock into him, but I feel like he's just scratching the surface. And if they can unlock what he's got left in that tank, what is he, 21 years old, I think? So he's just now, like, especially with that growth spurt, probably figuring out what the hell he can and can't do at this height. And then defensively, the kid can play too. He can move. So I love the pickup. I was the more I see of him, the more I like it.
Yeah, he moves very, very fluidly. I'm glad you brought up the defense there at the end. I think that one you probably almost didn't talk enough about because his defense has been highly regarded to the point where I was reading an NBA write-up on him where he had worked out for some scouts and they did a write-up. And yeah, the defense comes up very highly ranked by just what they saw in some of those workouts. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what he brings to the team.
What's that line going to look like with him and John playing? Like, what do you do? I love it. It's going to be fun. Wes should have a lot of fun this season. I'll be very disappointed if he doesn't. We all know, it's kind of put up or shut up time, right?
Sure. Well, and especially looking at what you've put together now. I mean, it's not the Avengers, but it is a very, very well put together team, I would think. And you've now got something at the 4 spot that you simply did not have, because when you were looking at who's going to play the 4, is it going to be Celestine, who, he played 4 at Baylor, but I don't know that that's necessarily the ideal position that you want Celestine.
I would agree.
You also have Slime.
They can probably do it in spurts, but that doesn't work. You don't want that to be your guy.
Right. Not your starter, not the guy playing the bulk of those minutes. You've also got Big Slime, and he brings something completely different, but he's played most of his minutes at the 5. So maybe you're playing him a little out of position to get him into the game, and now you don't necessarily have to do that. While I think that you're probably going to see both Celestine and Big Slime there at the 4 at certain points throughout the season, I don't think that's going to be where they anchor in and contribute on this team at this point. Now you've got a bona fide 4 playing the 4 alongside whatever spots you give. And if we continue to see rotations the way that Coach Wes Miller has preferred over the course of the last several seasons, I think you're going to see plenty of time for all these guys, and they're all going to be bouncing in and out. And I think now you've probably raised every position almost at least equal or greater value for the most part up and down the entire roster, 1 through 5. And I think you can probably go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It does appear that way. And with Haynes and Celestine and and Miller. And I mean, you got a little flexibility there too, and you can mix and match and do things that, depending on who you're playing, it gives them some flexibility there. And I'm not sure, they've had that the past couple of years. And it's, we'll see how Wes, boils it all down. But my God, he's, we thought he had the talent last year to do it, and some things failed. And the problem, I feel like it was almost like a house of cards last year. If one aspect of the offense didn't pull its weight, it was going to be a disaster. And that's what happened.
Well, it felt like we never really had everybody on at the same time on offense for the vast majority of the season. It felt like there were a handful of games, especially in Big 12 play, where you had everybody kind of clicking. But the record kind of reflected that as well.
Yeah. And when it did start to click, it was too damn late. I mean, they just dropped too many games early in the schedule in conference play to make up for it, and just dug too big of a hole. And that was a shame, but that's what it was. And again, I just, that when the outside game wasn't there, and then you can't dump it in to get points, you got to rely on alley-oops to get points inside. It just turned into a cluster.
Making some assumptions, I would imagine we're probably going to see at that 2 spot, Jizzle and Day filling out most of those minutes at the shooting guard. So my only gripe as far as the roster as it's currently constructed is you probably aren't long enough at that 2 spot as I would like. That said, I think you still have 2 really good competitors filling that hole.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Day is an absolute nightmare to go against. You don't want him guarding down low. That's for sure. Someone's going to take him down there. But he's a pest. And look, they got some guys that, again, who's to say, even a guy like Celestine can help out there. I know that sounds crazy, but he can.
Sincere Harris.
He totally can.
Yeah.
That dude can be a lockdown.
So we'll see what happens. But rotations are certainly going to be interesting. Looking forward to what Chad's able to what information he's able to gather as summer workouts are right around the corner, and that'll be your first glimpse at this team as is currently constructed. So those reports should be a lot of fun to talk about.
Well, kudos to Wes and the NIL people and Corey Evans for appearing to have what so far has been a pretty good offseason.
Switching gears here, getting out of college sports and back into baseball. The Cincinnati Reds, as we alluded to earlier when we first started the show, they did drop a game today, but prior to today, they had quite the win streak going on, which is night and day difference from a week ago. If we had to do this show, George, they were a mess. These Cincinnati Reds were a mess last Tuesday, and now all of a sudden they string together 5 in a row.
You don't have to remind me. I was down there about 5 hours watching this mess and this rain. But yeah, what about Will Benson? I mean, he played a big part in this. I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, you remember you made fun of me for being as big a Will Benson guy as I am. I'm glad to see him contributing. I think that
I am too, but my God, how many, it's like
5 home runs in 5 games.
I still am. He's a 4A player. I hope I'm wrong. I like the guy.
Me too.
I want him to do well. Former first-round pick, stud athlete. If he cuts down on those strikeouts and makes contact the way he's been doing, he only hit 526 for the week and was National League Player of the Week. And we've seen these spurts out of him before. Hopefully he says he feels the consistency coming around. That's what he's got to have. You can't go a month in a funk and expect to stick around on a major league roster when you do it all the time. Then you have a great week, and then you have a bad 3 week. That's not helping. So hopefully this is a real deal. He's not going to stay this high, right? Remember, who was that kid that came up about 4 years ago that hit all those home runs in his first 10 games?
Aristides Aquino.
That's it. That's it. I think the one before him was Orlando Rooms. I can't remember. But yeah.
Well, Reese Hines last year did it.
Who did? Yeah,
Reese Hines just last year.
You're right. And he should have come up earlier this year. That I think we were talking about 2 weeks ago. But no, hopefully Benson finds it. I mean, obviously the kid's talented. And you know what, 26 years old, he better be finding it soon. But maybe this is it. Maybe, you know, I know he changed the whole batting thing and you know, that's a big deal. And that does take time. So hopefully he's, you know, it's all clicking now and he'll be a consistent producer because Lord knows that outfield could use it because now Austin Hayes is back though, and that's changed. Friedel's hitting, Friedel's getting on base and has embraced that whole mindset of just getting on base any way he can. So now they're getting outfield production. They weren't getting that when they were scuffling. Their outfield production at the plate was horrible, probably the worst in Major League Baseball. And that's saying something when you got the Sox and the White Sox and the Pirates. And, well, the Pirates aren't that bad now. But I'm sitting down there last week at that game, and you're seeing the scoreboard and the lineups and guys coming up. I've never seen more one-something hitters between two teams in the entire lineups than I saw last Tuesday night down there with the White Sox and the Reds. It's like, I'm telling you, it doesn't happen, but it did that night.
Well, and it's frustrating too because you look back and you look at, you know, that series. If we go all the way back to that series against the Marlins, where you should have won that series, they're inexcusable to lose that series. Then of course, then you sweep the Rockies. Then you split with St. Louis. Then you end up losing a series to the Nationals. You lose a series to the Braves. You lose a series to the Astros. You lose a series to the White Sox, and you've blown so many opportunities against teams that you truthfully should not be losing series to, especially if you want to consider your contender. Now they sit at 500 somehow, some way, which it doesn't feel like they should be anywhere near 500 if you ask me personally.
No, I know. When last night I realized they were 25-24 after that win, it's like, what the hell happened? Like,
yeah.
It can turn quickly if you go on a little bit of a streak. And they did. Hopefully it was a blip on the radar screen tonight and they can get back on it because you know how big this weekend's going to be.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment, but I just want to touch on how important do you think this series was to Will Benson in particular, as he shone like a star, essentially, with home run after home run, and also to Terry Francona, being that Will Benson was essentially cast away, much in the same way that different, but a lot of similarities between he and Brandon Phillips in the way that they were just cast away from that Cleveland Indians team. Will Benson, of course, being a first-round draft pick, and Terry Francona kind of, he wasn't spurned by Cleveland by any means, but just playing a series against the team he used to manage, the last team he managed. I think that you saw how much this meant to both of them.
Oh God, I can't imagine what those two were saying to each other, especially, you know, when that series was over. I mean, I'm sure they both had a little celebratory deal.
Cheers.
Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Because that's really cool. And that's cool to get that kind of redemption. You know, it's not the ultimate redemption, but it's good. It's good for both of them. Definitely good for Benson. So hopefully, again, that he can find that consistency and keep this thing going. And, you know, you're right. I mean, Francona probably knows him about as well as anybody in the Reds organization. Really.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and you know, And hopefully the new batting thing, everything's falling together for him, and he can be a productive player for him because he is a lot of fun to watch. He is a fiery guy. I got no problem with him ripping a ball like he did. Was it Sunday? And then, he had some good bat flips and he screams to the dugout. And I got no problem with that. I'm glad baseball has some of that. Like when I was playing, we didn't like that crap, but nobody did that then. Now it's kind of a different deal.
Yeah.
I'm not those old fogies that says you're disrespecting the game or disrespecting the opponent. If you can't get excited, and I hit an automatic homer once, and I thought I was going to go through the moon. I mean, and I don't think I would ever lose that feeling, no matter. I guarantee you, on every one of Hank Aaron's 756 home runs inside, he was like, "You damn right, hell yeah." He was. Now you're allowed to show it a little more and not get hit in the head the next time you come up.
Against the Pirates, who knows? Thankfully, that manager is no longer there. Who used to die coming up
back in the Clint Hurdle, David Bell fighting days. Is that what happened? Am I remembering this right?
Yeah, Clint Hurdle and David Bell for sure. With
that's when David came out of he was ejected from the game and comes.
Yeah,
that was classic.
Came back out without his jersey on and all that.
Yeah, that's right.
With guest appearances by Yasiel Puig and Amir Garrett.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Amir was going to take on the whole bench.
Puig after he had already been traded.
Yes. Yes.
Crazy.
So teams going, no, don't get involved in that. That would have been great if he'd wrenched his knee and been out for the year.
Now, of course, you do have the rubber match tomorrow against the Pirates in Pittsburgh. That game gets underway at 12:35. So if you need something to watch while you're waiting for that 1:30 first pitch for your Bearcats, the Reds do play at 12:35 tomorrow.
I'll be keeping an eye on that. That should be so they're at 12:35. UC should be about 1:30 Eastern. That BYU game's over, but we'll see. If it's not, you're right. There will be entertainment.
And then you were talking about this weekend, you got a homestand against the Chicago Cubs. Hopefully the weather plays nice as opposed to last weekend's homestand. But the Chicago Cubs currently on top of this division at 29-20. The Reds sit at 25-25, currently 4.5 games back. But you make a little noise and maybe you finish this weekend at, I don't know, 2 games, 3 games, 1 game.
Hopefully I'm thinking right. So they're talking about Hunter Green throwing Friday, right? Is that what I've been hearing?
We'll see.
So they could face, if I'm doing let me see. Yeah. So they can face Green. He is scheduled to start. Green, Abbott, and it should be Lodolo, right? Because Singer's going tomorrow. It's to be determined. But, I mean,
that's Martinez went tonight.
Yeah. So, that's 3 guys that they're pinning a lot of hopes on for the future, and I hope they start showing that this weekend because it'd be nice to see. It would be nice to see Hunter Green to come back and be what we were seeing, before this groin thing. And thank God it was only a groin. Were you watching that game when he's walking off the mound when they come back from the commercial break? It was like, everybody I was just like, what? No one could even talk.
I wasn't watching it, but I mean, I saw the replay of him and all that. Yeah, I mean, you're holding your breath because you're like, oh no, this guy has superstar, not star, superstar written all over him. He does and says all the right things. He is all about just winning and putting your best performance out there, leaving it all out on the field. He's literally what you would draw up in a video game for a guy that you want to be
absolutely
your ace.
And I like his new Jake Sweeney commercial too.
I haven't caught that one yet.
You don't get that out there.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they do with the broadcast out here.
You guys
But in
get
any
like
case,
Cherokee Motors or whatever's
who
out.
knows? Yeah. Real quick before we
Motors.
before we switch topics, I did want to mention that
that way. Oh man,
I did want to mention Chase Burns, by the way, has been destroying single A with your or I'm sorry, double A, I guess. With Chattanooga Lookouts. Tonight it looks like he went 4 innings, no hits, no runs, a walk, 7 strikeouts over his 5 starts in double A. 24 innings pitched, a 1.88 earned run average, 3 walks, 35 strikeouts. Move him on up. I don't think he needs to waste any more time.
Walks.
I don't think he needs to waste any more time in double A.
The walk ratio is ridiculous. And I guess they're getting it, they're obviously monitoring pitch count and all that stuff.
Yeah. 24 innings and 5 starts, that's nothing.
Right. It's you I know. He's on a fast track, man. He is on a fast track, and that's why he's the number 1 prospect in the system.
You've seen it with Paul Skeens. You've seen it with some different guys over the course of the last several years. I don't see any reason that he doesn't finish in AAA, and I don't know that if you're doing this in AA, I don't know that you need to leave him in AA much longer.
No, I would agree. You may as well move him on up at this point. When he's doing that, you're not force feeding him by moving him up, right?
No.
He's ready.
Yeah.
When you're doing that against professional hitters, I don't care if it's AA, you got great prospects at the AA level. He's legit. Well,
and just think, if you do move him to Louisville, you're going to have Rhett Lauder and Chase Burns hanging out with Wade Miley. And that's that again, as far as development goes, I don't know that you could ask for a better situation.
I would agree. And I'm sure the Reds are thinking that way too. And be worth a trip down there if they pitch back-to-back games, to be honest.
Well, that's something to keep an eye out for as we watch for the Chase Burns Express coming through. And making that trip from Chattanooga to Louisville is nothing anyway. So,
I did talk about Friedel. Spencer Steer's starting to come around a little bit and hit the ball.
Thank God.
Gavin Lux is paying off. You hope Austin Hayes stays healthy. I mean, he seems like when this dude's healthy, he is legit like he was during that All-Star season with Baltimore. I mean, unfortunately, what'd they pay him? Like $5 million or something? I wish they had a 2-year deal with him. Because, if he stays healthy, they're getting a hell of a steal this year.
Well, it makes you wonder if he would be willing to go team friendly next year, because the Reds did take a flyer on him this year.
That is so rare anymore. Like, these guys are under tremendous pressure to go get the bigger deal just to keep the market where it is by agents.
Well, if you think about it, though, if you're getting offered a similar deal to go play in like a Petco or something like that, you've got to consider who the other team is, because if you're not going to be able to replicate the home run numbers or the hit numbers, even because the park is that much bigger, that's something to consider. We'll see.
It is. It just, oh my God. Every time I think a guy may take I think we went through that with Nick Castellanos. That didn't pan out.
I don't know that he was even off. That whole thing was strange, the way that he left Cincinnati, and it didn't seem
in retrospect, it was almost better that he did.
I would have loved him back. I got to befriend his brother.
Jesus.
But he was a lot of fun while he was here. In any case,
he was.
Switching gears, The NFL today, George, they voted to permit players to participate in flag football at the 2028 Summer Olympics in LA, something that we've even heard our own Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase kind of joke about. But this was unanimously voted 32-0, not your typical 31-1 with Mike Brown and his vote being the lone no.
Right.
Any thoughts there as far as the NFL entering the Olympic foray?
Well, I'll say this: I'm fine with them doing it. Joe Burrow talked about it today, right?
Maybe. I if he did, I missed it.
He said he would love to play in it,
I'm sure he would.
and I love that, and I hope he does. I think any chance we saw it with golf, and I know football's different. It's not like a worldwide sport like golf or basketball, but it's getting there, and they're trying to get there. But anyone that wants to go and win a gold medal and compete for a medal, I mean, doesn't every kid want to win an Olympic medal? And I think Joe Burrow does, the way he talked today, that would be really, really special to him to be able to do that, and he would love to do it. I just, it's now you're talking about guys being paid a lot of money to perform on Sundays in the fall, and
yeah.
Can you get hurt playing flag football? I guess you can.
Sure.
Guys have done it. The one guy on the beach that time.
Well, how many bad injuries on the NFL field are non-contact injuries? Non-contact. They happen all the time. So you have to be a little nervous about that, of course. But any true competitor, they want to have they want to win on the biggest stages, on all of the biggest stages.
And that is a world stage. And believe me, maybe the world won't watch the gold medal game, but a lot will in football. But all of America will if the USA's in it. That'll be like huge. And those guys, you win Olympic gold. I mean, look what it did for the Dream Team. Look what it's done for like hockey. You go back to that team, and these weren't professionals, but the USA team that won gold way back when at Lake Placid. Those guys are still national heroes, and they did commercials for decades after that. It means something, and you see it with these golfers when Justin Rose won, and it just it means probably more than anything, but maybe the Masters. I don't know. Maybe the Justin Rose, that would be a British Open, but it's a big, big deal. And you see the women as well, and it's huge. And so while I would be a bit squeamish about the injury part of it, it is flag, and I really wouldn't worry about Joe Burrow doing it, but I would love to see him do that. And I think it's really cool that he would embrace it like that and say, man, I would love to be a part of that.
As many different ways as the NFL has tried to grow the sport globally, by having games in other countries, by doing the Euro League at one point, just different things that the NFL has done. I don't know that there's any way to grow the sport organically than to have it injected into the Olympics. And if you do get to play on the inaugural Olympic team, you would assume, I think you can safely assume, that the American team should win gold. I don't think that's a crazy statement. That's not a hot take. The game was born here. It's been played here, and pretty much only here at this level for years and years and years and years and years, over my entire lifetime, over your entire lifetime. So you would think that America should win, and you get to have your name be on the inaugural team if you win gold, which is something that no one in any other sport can really say. At least not of any of the major sports. I guess baseball maybe.
It didn't work so well in baseball though. It just right.
Yeah, well, the World Baseball Classic, I think, is a better situation because baseball's tough. You can't really play a tournament correctly over the course of the Olympics
Right,
as you
right.
can with the way that the World Baseball Classic is set up. I can only imagine how contracts are going to be set up now with you have to include some type of footnote about Olympics, and if you get injured at the Olympics, what that does to your contract and all of that. So I imagine you probably have some ownership sweating a little bit, as again, non-football contact injuries are usually as bad as they get. When they do go down, it is not for a short little while. So I'd be a little nervous about that.
Race ACLs, man.
Yep. But I don't know. Cool to see, and of course, it's going to end up being a giant must watch. I would be very curious to see how it rivals the Super Bowl when the American team plays, because I think everybody, despite it being flag and not full contact football, I think everybody's going to want to keep an eye on this one.
What year? Which Olympics will they introduce that? They're not going to do that in LA or.
I think I said I think it was 2028, I believe.
Okay.
So it would be LA.
Hoping. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just had to look at my computer to see which year we're in. So Lawrence Metz could still maybe play like tight end or something for Germany.
I'm sure be better than some of the everyday Joes that a lot of countries are going to have to run out.
He's doing
against Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and
can you imagine?
No.
Oh my God, some dude from the United Arab Emirates trying to cover Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase.
Oh no.
That's so funny. Oh, I want to see it. I want to see it. You probably don't remember the Olympics when that dude from one of those, and it may have been the UAE, but it was somewhere in the Middle East, jumped into somehow got it. I thought you had to have a qualifying time and was in the cross country skiing thing, like the long distance one. This dude got lapped 100 times. It was so. It's like they started like following the guy. Like, this guy's so dusted, but he's still going.
Good on him for finishing.
I guess he practiced on sand. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, that should be something that we certainly are going to have to keep an eye on. But as we were talking about contracts and all of that, there's been plenty of contract talk around Shamar Stewart, who still is unsigned. He apparently has some issues with the language in the contract, which I don't know. I feel like this is much ado about nothing, because we've seen over the course of the last decade, more even, plenty of first-round picks, especially first-round picks, not get to training camp, not get to OTAs. Well, I don't feel like this is a very rookie training camp. Okay, not a big deal. OTAs, okay, not a big deal. I think it's a big deal when you get into actual training camp, if your first round pick is not signed yet.
Yeah, it's a huge deal then. And being a rookie and new to this, I'd much rather have, I know they're in underwear and all that. I'd much rather him out there doing the things and learning the techniques on the field than just sitting in a classroom. I know it's probably not a big deal. You're right. But why is that language so, why does he find that so offensive and the rest of them didn't? I don't know. I would love to know what it is, because I'm nosy. I would love to know what it is, but I just, my God, if I get drafted in the first round by a team in the NFL and I go in there and I diddle over some stupid language thing because I don't want to go out there in gym shoes and shorts and learn some stuff, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't fault the kid. I'm not saying, he's never going to pan out and he's a problem. No, none of that. I just don't like it. I just think if someone spins that pick on me, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove that you made the right call. And there's a lot of people that don't think the Bengals made the right call. And we're going to see how this kid performs. I don't like it. I think it's just not a great way to start the ball off, is it? The game.
Well, what I'd read up on,
I'm not saying that, but I just don't like it.
What I'd read up on, and I guess there's some of the language is how much your contract is guaranteed if you get injured in some of these camps before the season starts. So I can understand being a little hesitant there, as if you just sit out as he's doing, you don't get injured, and you just wait until you can get to the part that is guaranteed. Fine.
If that's worried about getting injured and that, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it drives me nuts.
Well, that's one of the things that it potentially could be, because no one's actually coming out and saying what the wording is that you're upset about. One of the other things I read is it may be about the guaranteed money when it's released, when the signing bonus is released, and what increments it's released in. In any case, I understand wanting to get as much money as quickly as possible, period, and totally get all that. Again, I'm not terribly concerned about rookie camp, about OTAs, about any and all of that. Make sure you're out there for actual training camp. Once we get to training camp, if he's still not signed, then we're certainly talking an issue. Right now, I think, again, this is much ado about nothing. I think the bigger deal that we kind of have glossed over, largely because the guy spent 24 minutes or something outrageous talking to the media about last week, and we didn't get to talk about this Tuesday because you were at the Reds game. Trey Hendrickson addressed the media on a soapbox for 24 minutes. I didn't bother to watch any of it. I simply read the recaps. And since then, the Bengals, by the way, have offered him $28 million, and the deal still is not done. Seems he's holding out for more years, not just more money. So where are you right now on the Trey Hendrickson drama?
Number one, I know he jumped the gun last year, but
when he couldn't, because his agent's an idiot.
Right. But that's where the Bengals should have probably been a little more proactive on that and done something before Myles Garrett signed for $40 million a year, and the market went completely haywire. Now, I couldn't have predicted that was going to happen, but I can tell you, I can guarantee you, I know, and I will bet everything I have that the price is going to keep going up for these top-of-the-line players in the NFL. So the Bengals know that. They should have gotten a little more in front of that, a year and a half ago, whatever. And it kind of festered, and they knew he was thinking that way. Man, they should have jumped on that sooner and gotten something done. Now, in the Bengals' defense, you don't want to give a lot of years to a guy that's going to be 30 here soon, right?
Yeah.
I can see paying him when he's 30, 31, 32. After that, you start to be like, and I don't know how many years he's asking, because if he's asking for 4 or 5, I understand some hesitance here. And I don't know if they're going to resolve this. You would think they probably will. Is he going to, what's he scheduled to make this year? 16 or 18, something like that? Is it?
I believe it's 16. And so jumping up to 28 is significant.
Sit? Is he going to pass that up? I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that, if they could work out a 2 or 3 year, but if he's asking for more and all this upfront guaranteed, but the hell of it is he's got him over a barrel, because I'm sorry if, I felt like when when the game was on the line, when they needed a play towards an end of a game or two plays towards an end of the game, he was there. He made those plays, whether it was pressure on the quarterback, a sack, what he was there. They're gonna miss him if he's not in there. And we already know what their defense is, and they're already putting that thing together with chewing gum and kite string. And if you don't have him out there, you got a problem. What are you going to throw at teams? A guy that's sitting out because he's afraid he's going to get injured in rookie minicamp?
So I understand the hesitancy to sign him for anything more beyond this season, because how much draft capital have you spent in defensive ends at this point? Between Osai and Cam Sample and Miles Murphy and now Shamar Stewart.
Hendrickson's fault.
I understand. I absolutely agree. However, you've got to think as an organization that one of these dudes, one of the four, has to emerge, right?
You would hope, but that's what it is. Hope's not a plan.
Sure, but that's why you also don't want to just completely handcuff yourself to Trey Hendrickson beyond this year at 30 years old. If one of these guys does emerge who you have under contract for pennies on the dollar by comparison,
I would easily, given the way that guy's played, given what he's shown, given knock on wood, durability, I would easily give him 2 to 3 years. I would if I'm them. Now, can they do that and make everything else fit after they threw the offense and got every shiny diamond they could for the offense? Can you invest that in the defense? I don't know. I'm not privy to their books. I know what's out there publicly. I don't know.
It's very interesting, and again,
it's definitely a conundrum, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, if he does get the 28 for this season, I don't think you can just give him 28 for just this season. I would think that you would have to. I don't think you'd have to extend him in order to do that, right? You can't just give him.
Yeah, I would think so.
So you're at least looking at
he's
an
already
additional year. Contract. Right. You're at least looking at an additional year, I would imagine.
Right.
Not just
God. And I would do that. I would do that.
So I just wonder where the drawback is, how much he's being offered for anything beyond this season. If he's being offered beyond this season, I don't know. We'll see, because
I just feel like once you know what you have, and they knew what they had 2 years ago, it's like we got to think of extending this dude to the point where we think we'll start getting diminishing returns, and they could have locked it up.
In fairness, the Bengals, while they do a lot of things, a lot of weird ways that you and I would not ever do had we been in the same position as the Cincinnati Bengals, they did bring in some more scouts. They did announce that they're bringing in, I think, 2 more scouts. So starting to move in the right direction. We'll see how that improves their
Look, 30 years. Hell, 40 years.
We'll see how it improves their draft and all that.
I'm being harsh on them now. I'm being a little harsh, but it is aggravating how it seems like they have to be drug out of the caveman days and
kicking and screaming.
Yes, it just is like, come on. Who knows? I mean, they could be the San Antonio Bengals in a year. I don't know. I don't think so. But
stop that. You stop that. We've done this entire show and we didn't even.
Honest to God, in the bottom of my heart, I don't think they're going anywhere. Probably ever, as long as the Brown family's involved.
Well, as long as the Browns stadium lawyer isn't involved in negotiations, and we won't even get into that conversation. I'm sure there'll be plenty more stadium talk the rest of this summer.
But I do think they're going to figure something out, and I think You know, the Bengals have made some good faith leaps here lately. I think the county has too. I think they'll get that resolved. I really do. I think they're going to stick around Cincinnati, but you can't take that for granted. I mean, my God, you know, there's 32 of them, and they're coveted, and for good reason, as we've talked about. Uh, you know, you know, an area this size that has Major League Baseball, NFL football, MLS soccer, Division I football, you know, Division I basketball. We're in a good spot, and I hope it stays that way.
Well, one more topic to get to. FC Cincinnati, since we last talked, they beat Austin 2-1 on Saturday, May 10th. They beat Toronto 1-0 on May 14th. And Hell is Real was this past Saturday, and it was a tie, a draw, 1-1.
Yeah,
But,
you know, coach wasn't really pleased with the lack of control of play, but you know, they probably I didn't look at the numbers. Usually I do after the match. But Columbus probably beat them, if not dominated, and you know, possession and all that. But they got it done, and the only goal they gave up was a penalty kick on kind of a, you know, a bad luck play. I mean, when a ball takes a weird bounce and hits somebody's hand in the box, what are you going to do? I mean, it's that's one thing I kind of hate about that, because that's a tough penalty to get. But yeah, they're in fine shape. They're tied for first place in the Eastern Conference with Philly when it comes to points. Philly has a tiebreaker, but and you know, they're up 7 points on Miami, which is kind of interesting. Miami's kind of fading here. I don't know what's going on there. And they're ahead of Columbus. You know, they stay ahead of Columbus, a couple points up on the Crew.
Yeah. I guess the biggest issue that FC Cincinnati has had that we've talked about is still their lack of scoring goals. You look at Philly.
Yeah, and they scored early in that match too, and then didn't score again, and that's probably what had Noonan all hacked off.
Well, you've got Philly. They've scored what, 27. They're plus 13, whereas Cincinnati's at plus 4
Right.
on their goal differential. I don't know. They've got to figure out
on that, right?
What's that?
I think that's the tiebreaker they use too. For
Yeah,
like
and you're down 9. That's a lot to be down.
Yeah,
so they've got to figure out how to win more games by more than one goal. These little 2-1, 1-0, it's just not going to cut it.
Well, they brought in that 40-year-old that's got 100 MLS goals or more. So who knows? Can you? Yeah. I'll tell you what. This dude's got to be a stud if he's still playing at 40. That sport, I mean, go out there and run around for 90 minutes.
You'd find me dehydrated and on the ground, gasping for breath.
That would be so hard. Man, I got a lot of respect for that, because that's tough.
Anything left going on in high school baseball before we get out of here?
The tournament's underway. Moeller's still #1 in the state of Ohio. I don't think they play till next Tuesday, but the tournaments are starting in Ohio. Kentucky's in their district tournaments. Yeah, it's, you know, May 20th. It's hopefully the rain stops so we can get some of these games in too. I mean, honest to God, I don't know. I think UC ended up, how many games did they end up playing? 54? What's the limit? 54, 56? I think they may have hit it. I don't know how. But I mean, the Reds game, that last homestand, I think like 5 of their 7 games were delayed by rain, and the one before was. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't.
Aaron's looking
quick. I was trying to see if I had their record readily available, and I don't without typing some things. But we're over our hour. I'm going to get out of here. We got plenty to talk about next week.
Yeah, 54 games.
There you go. You found it. Thanks as always to Remington Tavern for allowing us to do our little show here. You can check them out at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m. $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Check them out on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. But for George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith. We'll be back here next Tuesday to discuss all of your Cincinnati sports.
Thank you, Aaron.